Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. I'm Mark Stein, filling in for Tucker while he vacations with his family. President Trump's aggressive rhetoric toward North Korea, vowing fire and fury if Kim Jong-un's regime goes too far, was bashed by many people in Washington. If they hope to change the president's behavior, they clearly don't understand him. Today, Trump said his only regret was that he may not have been tough enough.
Frankly, the people that were questioning that statement, was it too tough? Maybe it wasn't tough enough. They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough. And we're backed by 100% by our military. We're backed by everybody, and we're backed by many other leaders. North Korea better get their act together, or they're going to be in trouble like few nations ever have been in trouble in this world. We are preparing for many different alternative events at North Korea. He has disrespected our country greatly. He has said things that are horrific. And with me, he's not getting away with it. He got away with it for a long time between him and his family. He's not getting away with it. It's a whole new ballgame. He does something in Guam, it will be an event the likes of which nobody's seen before, what will happen in North Korea. That's not a dare, as you say. That is a statement of fact.
Yeah, and just to be clear, North Korea is pledging to fire 4 missiles around Guam, north, south, east and west. Rebecca Heinrichs is a fellow at the Hudson Institute. David Tafuri is a former State Department official. They both join us. David, first to you. There are really two views on this. One is that the big problem is that North Korea is threatening to fire 4 missiles at Guam, and for a whole bunch of other people, the problem is the president's rhetoric. What to you is the big burning issue here?
Well, absolutely. North Korea is the problem, and make no mistake about it, North Korea's leader is erratic, he's a war criminal, and he's very dangerous, and it's appropriate for us to make sure he knows that we will use overwhelming force if he does anything to strike out against America, America's interests, or American allies. But President Trump's initial response on Tuesday was very simplistic. He almost stooped to the North Korean leader's level, and that also is a problem. Let's take what Secretary of Defense Mattis said yesterday to clean that up. Here was his statement. He said, the combined allied militaries now possess the most precise, rehearsed, and robust defensive and offensive capabilities on Earth. That sounds presidential. President Trump did not sound presidential when he basically said, I'm going to send fireballs of fury at North Korea.
Rebecca, sounding presidential here means you put on a boring expression and say bloodless things like all options remain on the table. That's got us to where we are after 24 years of that.
That's exactly right. That's the take that President Obama took, and obviously it didn't work. What President Trump is trying to do is change the calculus of Kim Jong-un. He's trying to make sure that he understands that if Kim Jong-un believes that he can threaten the United States with a nuclear ballistic missile, that it will not be worth the cost. And he's trying to make that threat credible. And I think he better believe him. The reason the American people are feeling a little bit uncomfortable is because they know that President Trump might do it. That's the point. The whole point is to deter war, and in order to do that, you have to make sure that the enemy understands you mean it, you're serious, you're going to back up these threats.
Yeah, David, isn't that a fair point? We've been as predictable in the sense that the court eunuch is predictable. You know he can't do anything and he's not going to do anything. We have Susan Rice saying basically now we need to just get used to North Korea being a nuclear power. Isn't that an incredible thing for the so-called National Security Advisor of the United States during the Obama years to say now she's out of office?
Well, you know, I don't agree with that statement by Susan Rice, but that also was not the policy of President Obama. And if you look at the policies of President Clinton, a Democrat, then President Bush, a Republican, then President Obama, a Democrat, and now President Trump, they're really all not all that different. They're pretty much the same. It's a mix of military and keeping the military options on the table and using diplomacy. And that's appropriate. And it's appropriate now, given that North Korea is getting closer to weaponizing its nuclear weapons, that we need to have stronger language. But we need to do it an appropriate way, and we need to be creative about it. We need to consider. We need to have carrots
we don't need stronger language. We need to stop basket case psycho states nuclearizing. North Korea has shared its nuclear technology with Iran. Iran has said it wants to share its nuclear technology with Sudan. I don't know where you go below Sudan, but when Sudan becomes nuclear, I guess they'll be sharing it with Somalia, and Somalis with machetes will instead be Somalis with nukes. Where's this going to go, Rebecca?
Well, you know, Susan Rice's op-ed in the New York Times, as you say, where she essentially says that we can deal with a nuclear North Korea, certainly explains why the Obama policy was to look the other way. Remember, in 2013, in an open hearing in the House Armed Services Committee, it was revealed that the Pentagon understood that North Korea likely does have a miniaturized nuclear weapon that they can put on a missile. And what did the Obama administration do when that revelation came to light? They looked the other way. They downplayed the intelligence and acted like it, you know, really wasn't as serious as it was. We have punted on this. We cannot allow Kim Jong-un to essentially have a nuclear gun to the head of the American people. President Trump isn't going to allow it. He's going to improve our missile defense systems, which, oh, by the way, President Obama cut them by almost $1 billion, our homeland missile defense system, his first couple of years in office. We are behind. The system can protect the 50 states of the United States, but it's not sufficient. We got to get better. We got to put the squeeze on Kim Jong-un. Remember, we're not preventing a nuclear ICBM at this point. We got to roll it back, and we got to stop Kim Jong-un.
Speaking of prevention, David, do you think if he decides to go ahead with this kind of Radio City aquacades around sovereign U.S. territory in Guam with these 4 missiles, we should let him do it?
No, absolutely not. We can't let him do anything. We cannot let him have nuclear weapons.
So what do we do?
He has.
But what we have to do is we have to push back with military options, make it clear that we're going to use our military and use military strikes, and we might even use offensive strikes, and we'll certainly use defensive strikes. But at the same time, we have to ratchet up sanctions, which we're doing, and I give President Trump credit for, and Nikki Haley for taking the lead in the UN and passing sanctions. But remember, that's the same thing President Obama did. He passed sanctions in November against North Korea, too. Rebecca likes to make this political. It's not political. Mainstream Democrats and mainstream Republicans agree on the response. It's be forceful with our military, use it if we have to, but try to pressure North Korea using China and using Russia and using our allies to come to the table and have a diplomatic resolution. That's the only way to do this.
Okay, Rebecca, David seems to be saying it's, you know, they're both parties have been useless on this. Is Trump any different?
I think both parties have failed to stop North Korea. That's absolutely right. But it was Barack Obama that punted this when North Korea was on the brink of having a credible nuclear ICBM. So, and Susan Rice's op-ed again in the New York Times proves that their policy of strategic patience was essentially to allow Kim Jong-un to get this capability. But I do think that President Trump is doing something different. He is saying, I'm serious. This is credible. I'm prepared to make sure that if given the choice of war on the Korean Peninsula or allowing the American people to be hostage to a nuclear ICBM, I'm choosing the former.
Okay.
That is to deter Kim Jong-un from doing something he's going to regret.
Every president
okay, we'll
has said that.
we'll have to leave it there. The fire and fury of cable news panels. Rebecca and David, thank you very much.